Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan, and his guest has been deceived by the Democratic Party. Also, you know, what's deceiving him a little bit is him wanting to be a fence sitter. Usually I have no problem with fence sitters. I mean, I love Joe Rogan. I mean, you know, a lot of us can argue that he's a very big fence sitter when it comes to this kind of stuff. But the fact that this guest is trying to get something done health-wise, and he's just trying to be on Team Humanity, which we'll get into after I play the Joe Rogan clip, is absolutely ridiculous. Because right now, if you're all about health and you're trying to approach the government, obviously you need to be approaching Donald J. Trump, by extension, RFK Jr., obviously. But the fact that he wants to be in the middle is keeping him from doing that. Let's start with the Joe Rogan clip, then I'm going to play some RFK stuff. Let's go.
Yeah.
You're just in the wilderness photographing wildlife.
What's crazy is he's a wildlife photographer, but when you talk to him, because he's been through shit, you know, living in Russia. But no, he's amazing because he's so optimistic, and he'll say, and I agree with him, this is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
We are the greatest country in the world, but we have to fight for that.
No, we have to torch the Constitution. Should we torch the Constitution? The Atlantic thinks maybe we should torch the Constitution.
It's like, why? God,
well,
man.
you know, it's all these interests. And I think the social chaos aspect of today, this is what I find interesting, because I think it forces these kind of conversations. It forces people to deal with these problems. It forces it. Instead of like this healthcare issue being this insidious, never talked about thing that slowly crept up and just became ingrained in society to the point where everybody just accepted it. Instead of that, you have this rebellion, and you do have this Make America Healthy Again movement, which everyone should embrace, but yet it becomes ideologically captured by the right somehow. And if you are with that, if you think, hey, that's a great idea those guys have. I know they suck when it comes to women's right to choose. They suck when it comes to whatever, fill in the blanks. But I like what they're saying about this.
Yeah.
Like, we're so lost in this team thing that is ingrained in our DNA, and they play us with it. They play us with it because we have these undeniable tribal instincts. It's just like when you roll a ball of yarn past a kitten. They can't help it. They got to jump on it.
Yeah.
They have these instincts.
You have it in your
instincts too.
stand-up bit, and it's that part where you talk about politics that's 100% how I feel, and that's how almost everybody I know feels. It's a lie that we all believe the Republicans or the Democrats. We don't. We're all individuals and free thinkers, and every topic is different and nuanced, and it's not that easy.
It's not.
But it's hard to find a party that represents everything you believe in. And again, I'm not political, so I focus on healthcare because it's what I know, and I know I can debate anyone on this topic. I know it. You want to talk about the Ukraine? I'm a moron. I can't help you there. I don't know, but I know healthcare, and I know how broken it is.
The problem is ideologies. The real problem is tribal thinking, because everyone should just embrace this and think this is really a good idea. But the fact that it's been attached to one political party, it makes it a problem for the people in the other political party. And that's what's nuts about us. Even things that are universally good, that everyone should strive for, better health, that becomes, I mean, I've seen articles written that people that go to the gym are more likely to be right-wing.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Go to yoga class.
The example I can give you is one of the bills that they are putting in place is to cover GLP-1s for every American that wants it. That's $1,500 a month right now because of what the pharmaceutical and insurance companies have done to price gouge and mark it up. Shouldn't be that. It should be under a couple $100s a month. But it's not, and it's not going to be. And so I look at that and go, okay, for $1,500 a year, you could get the DEXA, the VO2 Max. You could be monitored with AI 24/7. You could get, at minimal, blood work twice a year, comprehensive consult, 1 hour deep dive into your biologics, and we could treat the root cause of the issue. Because I said this on Jillian's podcast with GLP-1s. I am not against them. I'm still a believer in them when utilized appropriately. But prescribing a GLP-1, a weight loss drug, without talking about diet, lifestyle, and nutrition is like brushing your teeth while eating Oreos.
All this is true.
It just makes no sense.
All this is true. But what I'm saying is that just the concept of getting all these things out of our food supply, making people healthy, getting people off of all these prescription drugs, making people more metabolically healthy. We're so stupid with our tribal shit that just that concept has been pushed into the realm of right wing. If you're that, you're a MAGA person, you're this, you're a loon.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's the thing about going to gyms being right wing. I've seen multiple articles written about going to gyms being right wing. Have you ever been in a yoga class? Okay, yoga is one of the hardest things to do. They're some of the most left-wing on earth. They're nice, kind people who bust their ass in a 90-minute hot yoga class. That's hard to do. It challenges your character. Okay, the idea that like the only people that exercise are right-wing, that is so dumb. It's so limiting and so stupid and such a ridiculous way to think. You should want to be stronger. Everybody should want to be stronger. You know why? Because it's good. I like that I can pick things up. I like that if someone in my house needs something open, they give it to me and I can just open that motherfucker. I like that. I like that I can carry things.
Well, what gives me hope is the Democrats were in that meeting and there were Democrat senators that were interested. And I don't believe that it's the Democrats. I believe it's an agenda beyond the Democrats, and it's not. I just think people are trying to intentionally create that strife and that separation. And I don't believe it's the Democratic Party. I believe it's people attempting to hijack the Democratic Party and attempting to trivialize this message by portraying it as a political agenda rather than the facts of life of where we're at as a nation.
That's for sure the root cause of it, but it is a thing now. And that's the problem. It's been effective. It's like many other things that's effective until people wake the up. That's the thing. You know, there's not a lot of people going out getting COVID vaccines now. You got to be a true believer to go running out. It doesn't mean they're not still trying to sell it. I was watching the Beetlejuice movie the other day. So in the beginning of the Beetlejuice movie, they play all these cool previews. You get to, oh, that's coming out. That looks fun. And then they have a John Legend COVID vaccine commercial where he talks about how he's, I'll protect myself from COVID while he's playing the piano. And he like rolls out down his sleeve to show you a Band-Aid. You're like, what did you do?
But the insanity of it is, Joe, let's even look at COVID. If we look at the people that died of COVID, it was because of chronic.
Man, so it's just very interesting, you know, and earlier in this podcast, he says, you know, I'm not against Kamala. I'm not against Trump. You know, I'm for Team Humanity. And he's really trying to stay in the middle because he's hoping if I just stay in the middle, like, you know what, no matter who wins, I'll be able to turn to them and say, hey, but we all know what's really going on. If he goes to where his exact message is being pushed, which is with Trump, then all of a sudden, if by chance, God forbid, Kamala wins, or just in general, all of a sudden he doesn't have the ears of people on the left. And that's what he's really worried about. And that's what's really deceiving him right now, because he thinks in his head, this is not the Democratic Party. Now, you can argue that there are people who have tried to hijack the Democratic Party. You know, you could definitely argue that, you know, because we all know, older people out there, you know what the left used to represent. You know it completely. And I'm sure you look at the left today and you're like, I don't understand what happened. And then all of a sudden you look at the right and they're like, body autonomy, no war. And you're like, hold on, wait, what? I'm sure that's what you're going through. But this guy's a little, I don't want to say naive because I don't want to be insulting, but a little misguided on how to handle this thing. You know who he reminds me of? Joe Rogan's other guest, Robert Epstein. Robert Epstein was talking about being censored online, and he was showing that there are companies and platforms that are censoring people, but he's no fan of Trump. So instead of building a case study around Trump, he decides to build one around Elizabeth Warren. See, they're suppressing Elizabeth Warren, and this is what's happening, and it's because she's against Google and this and that. And it's like, buddy, just go and make a case study on Trump and bring it to Trump. He's going to scream it from the balconies. He's going to scream it at every rally. What are you doing? It was his life's work. And he's like, well, you know, I could do that, but I'm no fan of Trump. So, and this guy's doing the exact same thing right now. Just go where your message is being pushed. RFK is already doing this. And I'm going to be showing you guys some RFK actually talking about this. Let's get into that. Make America healthy again.
This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way. Until the early 1990s, our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now, in 2024, we're finally waking up to this cataclysm, and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen? A big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poisons in our food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle.
Does this not sound exactly what this gentleman, Brigham, wants to bring to the forefront to the conversation? This is the conversation that he wants to have. All you have to do is approach somebody who's aligned with Trump. This is very simple. But instead, he's trying to just go into it like, I'm not on either side, guys. It's not going to work in this case. Again, I have no problem with fence sitters at all. You know, sometimes you see good in both sides. Sometimes you just want to hear things out. Sometimes you're not political enough. Whatever it might be, I get it. But in this situation, if this, again, another guest where this is their life's work, this is what they want to do, you gotta go on the side that's actually embracing this. And if you look at the left, Joe brought it up. The left doesn't like you to be strong. They'll make articles about how working out is right wing. They'll make articles about how hunting and getting your own food is very right wing and it's not good. And there's toxic masculinity. And every single thing that the left fights for seems to be against human. It seems to be anti-human. Whether it's Roe v. Wade or whatever it might be, it always, climate change, whatever it might be, it ends up being anti-human. That's the result of everything that they fight for, is less humans. More power and less humans. And then you can see on the right, Trump's like, I want this to be my legacy. I want to make sure the children and people are healthy. And RFK's like, okay, let's do it. I have a whole thing laid out. And they're like, all right, we're like, this is a big thing that we're running on. And this guy enters and he goes, I'm not on either side, really. If there's one side that's anti-human, if you're on Team Humanity and there's one side that's anti-human and there's another side that is greatly focusing on the citizens of the country, where do you think you're supposed to go? You can't just be like, I'm not on either side, whoever will listen. Because you got to understand, I'm going to play another RFK clip right now. RFK used to be on that exact same thing, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let's go.
I've been picking on targetsine today, but that's just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD, potassium bromide, chemical after chemical, and on and on and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That has never been studied. If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer and genetic damage.
Again, this is just the exact conversation. That's all I'm illustrating here is the exact conversation that Brigham wants to have is the conversation that RFK is completely engaged in right now. I don't get it. It's just a very interesting, it's like you're trying to find a certain place and there's one guy that's like, I know where the place is. I go there all the time. And another person's like, I don't know where that place is and I don't care. And then you just stand in the middle and go, well, I'm not on either side here. If I could just get to where I'm trying to go. It's like, bro, just go with the person who has the directions. Like, what are you doing? It's okay. Step into the fire. It's fine. Because that's what he's afraid of, obviously. And going back to RFK was in the middle. He was a Democrat. They pushed him out. He had to become independent. He was literally in the middle. And then it got to a point where he was just like, I can't do this anymore. And he just went with Trump. And now he's gaining more coverage and his conversation is being accepted and heard more than ever. That's just what you have to do sometimes. And that's what a lifelong Democrat decided to do. Same with Tulsi Gabbard, a lifelong Democrat. She comes over. to Trump's side, and all of a sudden she's massively embraced. And she was embraced before, obviously, but even more so now. And now they're going to be a part of his administration, and they're going to be doing things that are going to be helping people. What are you waiting for, man? It's just very interesting. And to RFK, to Kamala versus Trump, RFK went to Kamala first because he's a Democrat. He's always been a Democrat. He approached her first, and she would not even give him a meeting. She would not talk to him because she can't do anything off script. She can't even have a phone call without it being scripted and being a teleprompter in front of her. She couldn't have the conversation. And on top of that, she doesn't know what she can say yes and no to because, you know, there's people behind her. But even still, she would not do it. Then all of a sudden Trump gets shot. He calls him himself and says, hey, we need to get that thing going. I need legacy. You know, my mortality has been put directly in front of my face. We need to get this going. Boom. I don't know. I just made that episode really quick because it's just like, come on, man. Like, I used to be somebody that's like that. And I'm sure if the left came out with a bunch of things that were incredible, and all of a sudden they stopped calling everything that is pro the American citizen, if they stopped demonizing everything like that, I'd probably be able to look at them and be like, oh, there's some good things here. But, man, at a certain point, and I hate to sound like this, at a certain point you do have to pick a side when it comes to stuff like this. But maybe not as a citizen. Maybe just if you're just sitting around. Maybe you don't have to pick a side. I know probably a lot of you don't even agree with that, and I kind of don't either. But when you're somebody who is working on something that you're claiming is going to help humanity, and one side is embracing it and the other side is not, and you're just like still in the middle, nah. That's, and again, I don't want to be insulting to the guy, but that's cowardly. At that point, because you know what it is. He's going to go and get embraced by Trump, and he's going to get a whole bunch of hate. You know? We all know. That's what's going to happen. We've seen it happen 100 times. Some celebrities like, I support Trump, and then all of a sudden they lose this and lose that and lose money. But if you're really, and that's happened in RFK. RFK's never going back to the left. He's never going back. He can always identify as a Democrat, but they're never accepting him again. That's it. You're campaigning with Donald Trump right now. That's it. You know, he will be a Republican from now on. And even if he doesn't identify with one, they're going to treat him like one. He's going to be on the other side forever. But RFK had something where he was like, I'm getting too old. And if I can help this guy win and he helps me get this thing done, I'll take all the hate and all the scrutiny as long as I can get this one thing done. That means the world to me and will mean the world to every citizen in the United States of America. I'm going to do it. If Brigham ever sees this, you got to do the same. You can't just sit back and be like, oh, I'm not against this person, I'm not against that. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. I know. Some people hate to hear it, but that's how it goes. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, helps the channel tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.